Zarya Vex held Lumi close to her chest. The small creature's fur changed colors from blue to purple as it sensed her fear. Red warning lights flashed inside her small scout ship. The air grew colder with each passing minute. "We will be okay, little one," Zarya whispered, though she wasn't sure if that was true. She was the last royal daughter of the once great Selenian Empire. Her people had ruled many star systems for thousands of years. They were known for their advanced technology and their special ability to survive extreme cold by going into a deep sleep. But now her civilization was nearly gone. The hegemony, a cruel group of alien races who wanted to control the galaxy, had been at war with her people for centuries. The Selenians fought hard, but were betrayed by some of their own kind. Now Zarya was on the run, carrying important information that could expose the traitors and maybe save what was left of her people. Her small ship had been attacked at the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. 3 large hegemony warships had appeared, out of nowhere. They fired their weapons, damaging her engines and life support systems. Zarya managed to escape by flying into an asteroid field where the larger ships couldn't follow. But the damage was done. "Ship status?" Zarya asked the computer. "Life support failing, oxygen levels at 30% and dropping, engine power at 12%. Communication systems damaged," the ship's voice answered. Zarya looked down at Lumi. The small creature was special, the last of its kind. It had been created using advanced Selenian science to be both a friend and protector to the royal family. Lumi could change shape and color and was much smarter than it looked. Its big eyes stared up at Zarya, filled with trust. "I won't let them take you," she promised. Zarya walked to the control panel, still holding Lumi. Her fingers, with their slight blue tint, moved quickly over the glowing buttons. The ship's computer showed a small moon made of ice orbiting a large planet nearby. It was their only chance. "Setting course for the ice moon," she said. "We'll use the last of our power to get there." The ship turned and moved slowly toward the moon. Zarya checked the emergency beacon. It would send out a signal asking for help, but in this part of space, far from any friendly systems, it was unlikely anyone would answer. Still, she had to try. As the ship approached the moon, Zarya went to a special compartment in the wall. Inside was a small silver device. It was a portable version of the Selenian hibernation technology. If she couldn't save her ship, she could at least save herself and Lumi by going into a deep freeze until help arrived, if it ever did. "I need to prepare us for hibernation," she told Lumi, who made a soft chirping sound in response. Zarya took Lumi to her sleeping quarters. The room was small but comfortable, with a bed and a few personal items. On a shelf was a picture of her family, all with the same pale blue skin and silver-white hair that marked them as Selenian royalty. Zarya was the only one still alive. She sat on the bed and prepared the hibernation device. It would put both her and Lumi into a state where they would barely need oxygen or heat. They could survive for hundreds of years if necessary, but there was always a risk they might never wake up. "Ship status?" she asked again. "Entering moon's orbit. Life support at 15%. External temperature dropping rapidly." The ship shook as it entered the moon's thin atmosphere. Zarya held Lumi tighter. The creature's fur turned a deep blue, showing it understood the danger they were in. "It's time," Zarya said. She pressed a button on the hibernation device. It began to hum softly. The ship continued to descend toward the moon's icy surface. It would crash, but hopefully not too hard. The ice might cushion their landing, and then the extreme cold of the moon would help maintain their hibernation state. Zarya lay down on the bed with Lumi curled up on her chest. She could feel the temperature dropping fast as the ship's systems shut down one by one. Her breath came out in visible puffs of vapor. "If anyone finds us," she began, but didn't finish the thought. The chances were so small. The hibernation device pulsed with soft blue light. Zarya felt her body beginning to slow down. Her heartbeat became slower, her breathing less frequent. Lumi too was entering the same state, its small body becoming perfectly still. Tears formed in Zarya's eyes, freezing almost instantly on her cheeks. The silver flecks on her skin A mark of her royal blood seemed to glow in the dim emergency lighting. "Sleep well, little one," she whispered to Lumi as the ship hit the icy surface of the moon. The impact was strong, but not as bad as she had feared. The vessel slid across the ice before coming to rest. As the ship's final systems shut down, Zarya hugged Lumi close, ready to freeze. Her last conscious thought was of her home, now lost to her forever. Then the hibernation took hold, and everything went dark and silent. The ship settled deeper into the ice over time. Days passed, then weeks, then months. The emergency beacon continued to send its weak signal out into space, but no one was there to hear it. Zarya and Lumi remained frozen, suspended between life and death, as the icy moon made its slow orbit around its planet. Their story should have ended there, buried in ice and forgotten. But fate had other plans. The signal, weak as it was, continued to travel through space. And eventually, against all odds, someone would hear it. Paige Wilson pulled her thick gloves tighter as she stepped off the transport vehicle. The surface of Europa was beautiful but deadly. The temperature was minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze oxygen. Paige's special suit kept her alive, but she could still feel the chill. "All team members check in," she said into her helmet microphone. "Laurel Chen here. All systems normal," replied the team's biologist. "Diane Frost. Good to go," said the mission commander. "Maya Rodriguez. Ready for action," confirmed their security specialist. Paige smiled. This was the first human mining mission to Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. They were here to study the ice and look for valuable minerals. Paige was an expert in studying rocks and minerals from space, which made her perfect for leading this. "Team, let's set up the base camp first," she told her team. "Then we can start scanning the area." The four women worked together to set up their temporary shelter. It looked like a large silver bubble on the icy surface. Inside, they could take off their suits and work comfortably. They also set up the scanning equipment that would look deep under the ice. "Base camp is ready," Diane reported after a few hours of work. "We should start the initial scans." Paige nodded and turned on the main scanner. It sent signals deep into the ice and showed what was underneath on a screen. At first, they saw nothing unusual, just miles of ice going down toward Europa's ocean. "Let's try Sector 4, Paige suggested. The orbital scans showed something interesting there. They moved the scanner and aimed it at a different area. As the results came in, Paige's eyes widened. "That can't be right," she said, looking at the screen. "There's something metallic 3 kilometers down in the ice." Laurel came over to look. "Could it be a natural deposit? Some kind of mineral?" Paige shook her head. "The shape is too regular, and look at this, it's giving off a very weak energy signature." The team gathered around the screen. The object was oval-shaped and about 30 meters long. It was definitely not natural. "We need to report this to Earth," Diane said, reaching for the communication system. "Wait," Paige said quickly. "If we report it now, they'll order us to stand down and wait for a special team. That could take months. We're already here with drilling equipment." The team looked at each other. They knew Paige was right, but also that she was suggesting they break protocol. "This could be the discovery of the century," Paige continued. "The first proof of alien technology. Do we really want to wait?" After some debate, they decided to investigate. They set up the drilling equipment and began the slow process of melting a tunnel through the ice. It would take several days to reach the object. "The energy signature is getting stronger," Maya reported on the third day of drilling. "Whatever it is, it's reacting to our presence." Finally, they broke through to a small pocket of space around the object. It was a ship, unlike anything humans had ever built. Its surface was smooth and seemed to be made of a material that was part metal, part organic. There were intricate patterns on the hull that glowed faintly when touched. "It's incredible," Paige whispered as she examined the ship. "It looks alive somehow." They found what appeared to be a door or hatch on the side of the ship. After studying it for hours, Laurel discovered a panel that responded to heat. When she placed her gloved hand on it, the panel lit up and the door slowly opened. "Should we go in?" Maya asked, her hand on her weapon. "We've come this far." Paige replied. Let's see what's inside. They entered the ship carefully. As they stepped inside, soft blue lights came on automatically, lighting their way. The corridors were curved and flowed like water. The walls had the same intricate patterns as the outside of the ship. The air is breathable, Laurel said, checking her instruments, and the temperature is rising. Cautiously, they removed their helmets. The air inside the ship smelled clean but slightly sweet, like nothing they had experienced before. The ship is activating, Diane noted as more lights came on around them. It must have been in some kind of sleep mode. They made their way deeper, into the ship, following the lights. The technology they saw was far beyond human understanding. There were control panels with no buttons, just surfaces that responded to touch. Screens appeared in midair and disappeared again. This way, Paige said, pointing down a corridor where the lights were brightest. They came to a larger room that seemed to be the center of the ship. There, on what looked like a bed or table, lay a humanoid figure. It was a woman, but clearly not human. Her skin was pale blue and her hair was silver white. She was beautiful in an alien way. In her arms, she held a small creature with fur that shifted colors even as they watched. She's frozen, Laurel said, moving closer. But I don't think she's dead. Look at the monitor next to her. The screen showed what might have been vital signs, though they were unlike human readings. The lines moved very slowly, showing that both the woman and the creature were alive, but barely. She put herself in some kind of suspended animation, Laurel explained after examining the equipment around the bed. Like extreme hibernation. And the small animal too. Paige approached the frozen woman. There was something about her face, a look of desperation and determination. She had clearly been running from something or someone, and she had chosen to freeze herself rather than surrender. Can we wake her up? Paige asked. Laurel studied the equipment. I think this device here controls the hibernation process. If we can figure out how it works. Wait, Diane interrupted. We should report this first. This is first contact with an alien species. There are protocols. She needs our help, Paige argued. Look at the ship. It's damaged. She crashed here and put herself in hibernation as a last resort. If we wait for orders from Earth, she might die. After much discussion, they decided to try to revive the alien woman. Laurel worked carefully with the hibernation device, figuring out its functions through trial and error. I think I've got it, she said finally. This should start the warming process. It will be slow, probably several hours before she wakes up. Paige nodded. Do it. Laurel activated the device. The bed began to glow with a soft blue light. The ice crystals on the woman's skin slowly started to melt. Now we wait, Paige said, pulling up a chair next to the bed, and hope she's friendly when she wakes up. The warming process took longer than expected. For 6 hours, Paige and her team watched as the alien woman's body slowly thawed. The small creature in her arms also began to show signs of life, its fur shifting between colors even in its sleep-like state. Her vital signs are getting stronger, Laurel said, monitoring the ship's equipment. I think she's going to wake up soon. Diane paced nervously. What do we say to her? How do we communicate? We'll find a way, Paige replied, her eyes never leaving the alien woman's face. There was something about her that seemed almost familiar, despite her clearly non-human features. Suddenly, the alien's eyes fluttered open. They were unlike any eyes the humans had seen before. The irises were swirling silver and black, like tiny galaxies. She blinked several times, then focused on Paige, who was closest to her. The alien woman's body tensed. She clutched the small creature tighter to her chest and tried to sit up. It's okay, Paige said softly, holding up her hands to show she meant no harm. We're not going to hurt you. The alien woman looked confused. She glanced around the room, taking in each of the humans, then looked back at Paige. She said something, in a language none of them understood. It sounded like music with rising and falling tones. We can't understand you, Paige said slowly. We're humans, from Earth. She pointed to herself. Paige. The alien woman watched Paige's mouth as she spoke. Then, to everyone's surprise, she repeated, Paige. Her voice had an unusual quality to it, almost like two people speaking at once. Yes, Paige, Paige said, pointing to herself again. Then, she pointed to her team members. Laurel, Diane, Maya. The alien repeated each name perfectly, then she placed a hand on her own chest. Zaria Vex. Zaria, Paige repeated with a smile. The small creature in Zaria's arms was now fully awake. It looked at the humans with bright, intelligent eyes and made a chirping sound. Zaria stroked its fur and said, Lumi. Lumi, Laurel repeated, moving closer to look at the creature. What is it? Some kind of pet? Zaria seemed to understand the question, even if she didn't know the words. She shook her head and said something in her language while making gestures that suggested Lumi was more than just a pet. Over the next few hours, they attempted to build a basic form of communication. Zaria proved to be incredibly intelligent and adaptable. She watched and listened carefully, repeating words and phrases. It was as if she was absorbing the language at an astonishing rate. I think she has some kind of advanced language learning ability, Laurel suggested as they watched Zaria examine a tablet computer they had given her. Maybe her species evolved to communicate quickly with others. By the end of the day, Zaria could speak in simple sentences. Ship damaged. Hide here. Sleep until safe. Who were you hiding from? Paige asked, speaking slowly. Zaria's face darkened. Hegemony. Bad. Kill my people. She's a refugee, Maya realized. She was running from someone who destroyed her civilization. Zaria nodded, understanding at least part of what Maya said. Yes, last royal. Must survive. Lumi had become more active and was now exploring the room. The creature seemed able to change not just its color, but also its shape slightly. It could stretch its body to reach high places and flatten itself to squeeze through narrow spaces. Lumi. Special, Zaria explained when she saw them watching. Made to protect. Last one. Laurel was fascinated by Lumi. May I? She asked, holding out her hand to the creature. Zaria hesitated, then nodded. Lumi approached Laurel cautiously, then climbed onto her hand. Its fur turned a gentle shade of green where it touched her skin. It's responding to me, Laurel said, in wonder. I can almost feel emotions from it. Lumi feels. Knows, Zaria confirmed. Connects. As the day progressed, Zaria's command of English improved dramatically. By evening, she was able to explain more about herself and her situation. My people, Selenians, lived in many star systems, she told them as they shared a meal of human rations. We advanced, peaceful, special ability to sleep in cold for a long time. She gestured to the hibernation device. But hegemony wanted our worlds, our technology. War for many, many years. And you lost? Diane asked gently. Zaria's eyes, filled with tears that sparkled with tiny silver flecks. Betrayed. Some Selenians helped hegemony. I escaped with important information. She tapped her head. Here, names of traitors, plans of hegemony. So you're not just a refugee, Maya said. You're carrying intelligence that could help your people. Yes, if any still live. Zaria looked down at her hands. I may be last. The humans exchanged glances. This was far more complicated than they had anticipated. They had expected to find minerals on Europa, not an alien refugee with information that could affect an interstellar war. The hegemony, Paige asked carefully. Are they still looking for you? Zaria nodded grimly. Always look, never stop. If find me, find Earth too. The implication was clear. By helping Zaria, they might have put Earth in danger. We need to report this to our leaders, Diane said firmly. This is beyond our authority now. Zaria suddenly looked alarmed. No, not tell many. Hegemony has spies everywhere. Only trust. Few. Zaria, Paige said, taking the alien woman's hand. We won't let anyone hurt you or Lumi. But we need help to keep you safe. Our planet doesn't know about aliens yet. This will be complicated. Zaria seemed to understand. She squeezed Paige's hand. I trust you. You save me. Save Lumi. I help Earth if hegemony comes. That night, while Zaria and Lumi slept in the ship, the humans discussed their options. They had to report their discovery, but they also needed to protect Zaria. She could be invaluable to Earth, Laurel argued. Her technology, her knowledge. We can't just hand her over to be studied like a lab specimen. And what about this hegemony? Maya added. If they're as bad as she says, we need to prepare. Paige looked back at the ship where Zaria was sleeping. We need to find someone we can trust. Someone who will see Zaria as a person, not just an alien or a source of technology. They decided to contact Vice Admiral Olivia Barrett, the pragmatic leader of Earth's Space Defense Force. She had a reputation for being fair and forward-thinking. If anyone would understand the importance of protecting Zaria while also preparing Earth, it would be her. The next morning, they sent a highly encrypted message to Barrett. It simply said, made first contact, friendly, needs asylum. Others may follow who are not friendly, requesting secure extraction. Europa base. Now they could only wait and hope that Barrett would respond quickly and favorably. Vice Admiral Olivia Barrett arrived on Europa 3 days later in a small, unmarked ship. She came with only 2 trusted assistants and ordered all communications to be kept to a minimum. Paige was relieved by Barrett's cautious approach. The Admiral was a tall woman with gray-streaked hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She listened carefully as the team explained everything they had learned from Zaria. Then she asked to meet the alien woman herself. When Zaria entered the room with Lumi at her side, Barrett stood up straight, showing respect. Ms. Vex, she said, formally. I'm Vice Admiral Olivia Barrett of Earth's Space Defense Force. Welcome to our solar system. Zaria, now able to speak English quite well, responded with equal formality. Thank you, Admiral Barrett. I am grateful for your hospitality and for the brave actions of Dr. Wilson and her team. The 2 leaders sized each other up. Then Barrett smiled slightly. Let's talk honestly. Your situation puts both of us in a difficult position. They spent hours discussing the hegemony threat and Zaria's status as a refugee. Barrett was particularly interested in Selenian technology. Your hibernation technology alone could revolutionize space travel for humans, she noted. And your ship's design is unlike anything we've developed. I will share what I can, Zaria promised. But you must understand, the hegemony is real and dangerous. They destroyed my civilization and they will not hesitate to do the same to yours if they discover Earth. Barrett nodded grimly. Then we need to prepare. How much time do we have? I cannot be certain. The hegemony has faster-than-light travel, but they must still follow certain cosmic pathways. Perhaps years, perhaps less. Barrett made her decision. We'll bring you to Earth, but secretly. Only a small group will know about you. We'll establish a secure facility where you can work with our scientists. 1 week later, Zaria, Lumi, and the Europa team were on Earth at a hidden base in the mountains of what humans called Colorado. The facility had been quickly converted from a military research center to accommodate their unusual guests. Zaria's presence on Earth created a political storm among the few who knew about her. Some officials saw her as humanity's greatest opportunity, others as its greatest threat. Barrett protected her from those who wanted to treat her as a specimen to be studied or a technology source to be exploited. She is a person, Barrett told, a group of government officials. A refugee and a potential ally. We will treat her with dignity. Over the following months, Zaria worked closely with a specialized team including Paige, Laurel, and Maya. Zaria's knowledge accelerated human technological development by decades. She helped them understand principles of energy generation, space propulsion, and defensive systems that humans had not yet discovered. Lumi proved to be more than just a pet or companion. The creature could interface directly with both Selenian and human technology, creating bridges between incompatible systems. Laurel spent countless hours working with Lumi, developing a deep bond with the unusual being. Lumi is not just another species, Laurel explained to the team one day. The Selenians created Lumi's kind as living technology. They can process information, store data, and even manipulate energy fields. Meanwhile, Paige and Zarya developed their own special connection. At first, it was based on gratitude and respect. Paige had saved Zarya's life, and Zarya was helping to protect Earth. But over time, it became something deeper. "Your world is beautiful," Zarya told Paige as they walked through a forest near the base one evening. It was one of the rare occasions when Zarya was allowed outside. "So full of life, so diverse. My homeworlds were more controlled. We shaped our environments to suit us." "Do you miss it?" Paige asked. "Every day," Zarya admitted. "But I'm beginning to feel at home here too." She looked at Paige with her galaxy eyes. "Thanks to you." Their work took on new urgency when Earth's new deep space monitoring system, built with Selenian technology, detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. "Hegemony scout ships," Zarya confirmed after studying the data. "They're doing preliminary scans, looking for signs of advanced technology or Selenian energy signatures." Barrett called an emergency meeting. "How long until they reach Earth?" "The scouts will report back first," Zarya explained. "Then they'll send a vanguard fleet. 3 months, perhaps 4. "What are we facing?" Maya asked. "The vanguard will likely be 7 warships, each one capable of destroying an entire continent." The bow room fell silent as they absorbed this information. "Can we negotiate with them?" someone asked. Zarya shook her head. "The hegemony does not negotiate. They conquer or destroy. Then we fight," Barrett said firmly. "Ms. Vex, what defenses can we build in 3 months?" Working day and night, they developed a defense plan. Using adapted Selenian technology, they improved Earth's existing weapons and created new ones. Zarya showed them how to build shields that could absorb energy from hegemony weapons. Lumi helped them create systems that could detect hegemony ships even when they tried to hide. But it wasn't enough. Even with their new technology, Earth was outmatched. "We need more time," Paige said in frustration after a failed test of their new defense system. "Time is the one thing we don't have," Barrett replied. Zarya had been quiet, watching the humans work tirelessly to protect their planet. That night, she asked to speak with Barrett and Paige privately. "There is another option," she said once they were alone. "One I have not mentioned before because it is extremely dangerous." She explained her plan. Using herself as bait, she would allow the hegemony to capture her. But before they took her, she would be implanted with a modified version of the hibernation technology, one that could be weaponized to force the entire hegemony command structure into irreversible stasis. "It would require me to get close to their leaders," she explained. "They would want to interrogate a Selenian royal personally." "It's suicide," Paige protested. "They'll kill you." "Not immediately," Zarya said. "They will want information first. About other Selenian survivors, about our technology. It would give me time to activate the device." "And if you fail?" Barrett asked quietly. "Then I face torture and execution. But Earth might still have a chance, especially if you continue developing the defenses we've started." Barrett looked troubled. "I can't order you to do this." "You don't need to," Zarya replied. "It is my choice. My people are gone. Earth is my home now. I will protect it." Paige took Zarya's hand. "There has to be another way." But as the days passed, it became clear that Zarya's plan, despite its risks, offered the best chance of success. They refined it, looking for ways to increase her chances of survival. The night before the mission was set to begin, Zarya asked Paige to come to her quarters. Lumi was there, sitting on a cushion, its fur a deep, calm blue. "I have a request," Zarya said solemnly. "In my culture, when someone faces great danger, they may transfer guardianship of their bonded companion." She gestured to Lumi. "I want you to be Lumi's guardian if I don't return." Paige's eyes filled with tears. "Zarya, please. It is important to me." Zarya explained the ancient bonding ritual of her people, a transfer of guardianship that hadn't been performed in centuries. It involved a sharing of blood and energy between all 3 participants. "If I don't return," Zarya whispered as they completed the ritual, "you two are the future of my people now." Lumi's fur glowed with a soft purple light as the bond between the three of them was formed. Paige felt a strange connection to both Zarya and Lumi, as if they were now part of her in some fundamental way. When it was done, Zarya looked at Paige with her galaxy eyes. "Thank you for finding me in the ice, for saving us both." Paige couldn't speak. She simply held Zarya close, wondering if this would be their last night together. The hegemony arrived with their vanguard fleet exactly as Zarya had predicted. 7 massive warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, their designs alien and threatening. Their first message was simple: surrender the Selenian fugitive, or face extinction. Earth's leaders, the few who knew about Zarya, gathered in an underground command center. Vice Admiral Barrett stood before screens showing the approaching alien fleet. "We are not surrendering anyone," she told her officers. "Prepare to execute Operation Stardust." The plan was in motion. Zarya, piloting a small ship built with a mix of human and Selenian technology, left Earth's atmosphere. The ship was designed to look damaged, as if she were attempting to flee. "Zarya's ship has cleared the atmosphere," a technician reported. Paige watched from the command center, her heart pounding. She had wanted to go with Zarya, but that would have ruined the plan. The hegemony wanted Zarya alone. Hegemony ships are changing course, another officer announced. "They're moving to intercept." Lumi sat on the console in front of Paige, its fur shifting between anxious purple and determined red. The creature had tried to sneak aboard Zarya's ship, but she had discovered it and insisted it stay behind. "She'll be okay," Paige whispered to Lumi, not believing it herself. On her ship, Zarya sent a message that she knew the hegemony would intercept. "This is Zarya Vex, royal daughter of the Selenian Empire. I am leaving Earth. Their people gave me shelter, but I will not be the cause of their destruction. I surrender myself to the hegemony on the condition that Earth remains untouched." It was part of the plan to make the hegemony believe Earth was not important to her. The truth was exactly the opposite. Zarya had come to love this blue planet and its people, especially Paige. The largest hegemony ship moved toward Zarya's vessel. A beam of energy surrounded her ship, pulling it toward the alien vessel. "They've got her," Maya reported grimly. "She's being taken aboard the flagship." Now came the most dangerous part of the plan. While the hegemony was focused on capturing Zarya, a stealth ship carrying Paige, Maya, and 3 Special Forces soldiers was approaching the hegemony fleet from a different direction. Their ship was coated with a material developed using Lumi's unique abilities. It absorbed sensor signals instead of reflecting them, making the ship nearly invisible to hegemony detection systems. "Stealth ship is in position," a technician reported. "No signs they've been detected." Barrett nodded. "Phase 2 begins now." Paige's ship moved silently toward the hegemony flagship. They would enter through a maintenance hatch that Zarya had told them about. All hegemony ships followed the same basic design, and Zarya knew their weaknesses. Meanwhile, Zarya was being taken to the flagship's detention center. Her captors were tall, gray-skinned aliens with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red. They wore armor made of a material that seemed to shift and move like liquid metal. "The last Selenian royal," one of them said in a harsh, clicking language that Zarya understood. "The High Commander will be pleased." Zarya did not resist as they placed her in a cell surrounded by energy fields. The hibernation device was implanted under her skin, disguised as a Selenian royal marking. The hegemony would never suspect it was a weapon. "Your people thought they could hide from us," the guard told her, "but the hegemony finds all who oppose us. Your surrender was wise. It will make your death less painful." Zarya said nothing. She needed to conserve her strength for what was to come. On the other side of the massive ship, Paige and her team had successfully entered through the maintenance hatch. Using maps that Zarya had drawn for them, they made their way toward the command levels. They carried modified hibernation devices that needed to be planted throughout the ship. "How much time do we have?" Maya whispered. "Not much," Paige replied. They'll start interrogating her soon. We need to place these devices and get to her before that happens. They split up, each taking a different section of the ship. Paige moved through darkened corridors, avoiding hegemony patrols. She placed hibernation devices at key locations, near power junctions, command posts, and life support systems. When activated, these devices would create a wave of hibernation energy that would put every hegemony soldier and officer into a deep sleep from which they could not wake without the counteragent, which only Zarya knew how to create. Paige placed her last device and was heading toward the detention center when alarms began to sound throughout the ship. One of their team had been discovered. "Paige, abort mission." Maya's voice came through her earpiece. "They know we're here. Get back to the ship." But Paige couldn't leave. Not without Zarya. "I'm going for her," she replied, and turned off her communicator. She ran through the corridors, no longer trying to hide. Several hegemony soldiers spotted her, but she used a weapon Zarya had helped design, a pulse gun that briefly disrupted the hegemony's nervous systems, stunning them without killing them. When she reached the detention center, she found 2 guards outside Zarya's cell. She fired her pulse gun, dropping them before they could raise an alarm. The control panel for the cell was complex, with symbols she didn't understand. Paige hesitated, then remembered something Lumi had given her just before she left, a small crystal that glowed with inner light. She placed it against the panel, and the crystal changed shape, interfacing with the alien technology. The energy field around Zarya's cell flickered and died. Zarya looked up in shock as Paige entered the cell. "What are you doing here?" "You were supposed to stay on the stealth ship. I couldn't leave you," Paige said, helping Zarya to her feet. "Come on, we need to go, now." But Zarya shook her head. "It's too late. The devices are in place, but I need to be at the command center to activate them properly. The signal needs to be amplified through the ship's communication system." "Then we'll go to the command center," Paige insisted. Alarms continued to blare as they made their way through the ship. They encountered more soldiers, and both of them fired pulse weapons to clear a path. Zarya was weakened from her brief captivity. The hegemony had already begun their interrogation techniques, leaving painful marks on her blue skin. When they reached the main command level, they found chaos. The hegemony had realized there were intruders on the ship, and soldiers were running in all directions. Using the confusion to their advantage, Zarya and Paige slipped into a small control room. "This will work," Zarya said, examining the equipment. "I can access the communication system from here." She began working quickly, her fingers flying over the alien controls. Paige stood guard at the door, pulse weapon ready. "Almost done," Zarya said. "When I activate this, we'll have about 2 minutes before the hibernation wave reaches us. We need to be back at your ship by then." Suddenly, the door to the control room slammed open. A tall hegemony officer stood there, his forearms each holding a different weapon. Before Paige could react, he fired. Zarya threw herself in front of Paige. The energy blast hit her in the chest, sending her flying backward. Paige fired her pulse gun, hitting the officer directly in the face. He collapsed in the doorway. "Zarya!" Paige cried, rushing to her side. Zarya was badly injured, blood with silver flecks seeping from the wound. "Finish it," Zarya gasped, pointing to the control panel. "You know what to do. I showed you." Paige wanted to help Zarya first, but she knew there was no time. She went to the panel and followed the sequence Zarya had shown her during their planning sessions. The final control required Selenian DNA to activate. Paige took Zarya's hand and pressed it to the panel. The ship's communication system came to life, broadcasting a signal to all 7 hegemony ships. The hibernation devices they had planted began to activate, spreading a wave of energy throughout the fleet. "We need to get you out of here," Paige said, returning to Zarya and trying to lift her. "Too late," Zarya whispered. "The wave is coming. Go, Paige, get to your ship." "I'm not leaving you," Paige insisted, tears streaming down her face. Zarya reached up and touched Paige's cheek. "Then do for me what I was prepared to do in the ice of Europa. Help me hibernate. It's the only way I might survive this wound." Paige understood. Selenians could enter hibernation to survive injuries that would kill other species. But Zarya, was too weak to trigger the process herself. The hibernation wave was spreading through the ship. All around them, hegemony soldiers were collapsing, falling into a deep sleep that would last for years. Soon, it would reach them too. Paige held Zarya close, trying to trigger the hibernation process through their bond. She remembered the ritual they had performed with Lumi, the connection they had formed. "Please work," she whispered, focusing all her energy on Zarya. She could feel Zarya's breathing slowing, her skin cooling as the natural Selenian hibernation began. Just as Paige felt the hibernation wave reaching them, there was a flash of light. Lumi appeared, having somehow stowed away on the stealth ship and found its way to them. The creature's fur was glowing with intense purple light. Lumi leaped onto Zarya's chest directly over her wound. Its body seemed to melt and flow, covering both Zarya and Paige in a cocoon of glowing energy. As the hibernation wave washed over them, Paige felt herself being protected from its effects by Lumi's power. The next thing she knew, Maya and the rescue team had found them. The hegemony ships were drifting in space, their crews in deep hibernation. Earth was safe, at least for now,